just rapidly 3 points around this. You know, very often, now that the companies develop much more precise and targeted therapies, the hope is that you will indeed target the disease process and avoid most of the safety issue. This is clearly not the case. And just to give you one example, in the oncology field, where you have all this anti-angiogenic therapy based either on monoclonal antibodies, such as bevacizumab, or on other agents which target tyrosine kinase downstream of the VEGF receptor. And it is clear that although the target is very precise, is very specific, there are still a number of unwanted reactions, side effects, which might be associated with this type of therapies, again, as recently revised for anti-angiogenic therapies for ovarian cancer. And for example, hypertension is really a significant matter of concern with this new agent. So it's very important, even when you identify the target of these new therapies, that you also understand the mechanisms behind these side effects in order to be able to prevent them as much as possible. The two other very important aspects related to drug safety is to take into consideration not only, I would say, immediate early side effects, but also what happens long term. And again, the oncology field there is a very important example. We have now drugs which sometimes allow really, as you know, to cure cancers, but we have now to deal not only with the type of reactions and effects I just mentioned, but also on what will happen long term. And as you know, just to give you one example, in the oncology field, the development of secondary cancers is an important matter of concern. The other aspect is that both for short-term and long-term side effects, we now realize that the more we study about the mechanism, the more we indeed develop tools to identify the patients at risk of developing some of these adverse reactions. And as you know, this has been translated into practice. Just think about the irinotecan against an anti-cancer drug, when you know that the risk of developing severe neutropenia is really dramatically increased in patients with some polymorphism of the so-called UGCT1 gene. The same for some anti-HIV drugs, such as abacavir, when you can prevent the more severe side effects just by screening the patients for HLA antigens. And it's, again, quite important to address and to develop this novel approach to drug safety, indeed to develop new tools to identify very early on, before you give the therapy, the patient which might be at risk of developing some side effects, and really to monitor benefit risk all along the treatment of the patient, and also to pay particular attention, as I said, to late consequences such as secondary cancers or cataracts or osteoporosis, just to give you a few examples. And it's clear that to develop these new approaches, industry needs external collaboration, especially, obviously, with academic hospitals and also with patient organization and biotech. Now, going into more concrete example, this is the first wave of projects which are currently ongoing. You have here the leading companies, but as I told you, in most of these consortium, you have between 7 and 12 or 13 large pharmaceutical companies working with their external collaborators. You have here the budget of each of these projects, the number of teams involved. And I insist on drug safety because, as you can see, the first two projects which receive the most important budget are indeed projects in the safety area. And I will briefly comment on these two projects. First, this is the partnership. And I would like to draw your attention that indeed the European Regulatory Agency, the EMA, is indeed an external advisor to this project. I would also like to emphasize that this project has established links, and we are currently strengthening these links with other initiatives, including US initiatives mentioned by Jackie Hunter, such as the Biomarker Consortium and the Critical Path initiative. So what this large consortium is doing is to try to develop new clinically useful biomarkers which might qualify for approval by the regulatory bodies. And the focus is on three important targets in drug safety: the kidney, the liver, and the vascular system, especially the endothelial cells. This is just a figure explaining the overall approach, and which I think quite clearly identify the need for collaboration between industry and outside industry. Because they start, when they have a candidate biomarker, to look at the variability in healthy subject, then to see whether indeed the biomarker is sensitive to drug-induced injury, in this case liver injury. And it's only when this is the case that the process goes through. Then you have obviously to be sure that this is specific to liver damage. If it is not, then obviously the project is stopped. And if this is the case, then you will look at the interest of these biomarkers for other type of tissue-specific damage. And then you will investigate through collaboration which are the mechanisms behind the usefulness of these biomarkers. Can it be used not only for drug-related injury, but also for other clinical purpose? Now, when you are talking about drug safety, about benefit-risk, very often the voice of patients is not heard or is not heard enough. And it's quite important, as mentioned also in this recent editorial in New England, to pay more attention to patients. And in the second project about drug safety, actually it's a project on pharmacovigilance that I would like to mention here. Actually, the patients play a critical role through this International Alliance of Patients Organization. And interestingly, in this case, the European Regulatory Agency is the coordinating unit. You see a large number of pharmaceutical companies, of academic institutions, and of one SME. And you know, the approach there can be very simple. For example, to phone through phone interview to get insight about new ways to collect data from consumers, and also to address specific questions. For example, there is a dedicated research program on possible side effects related to pregnancy. Now, obviously, we have other type of project which sometimes are addressing specific disease areas. I have no time to go through each of the 15 projects, but just to give you one example, this is a collaborative project to develop innovative approach for Alzheimer's disease. It's an ambitious project. The idea there is to develop new animal models more suited for clinical translation. and also to develop new ways to assess cognitive impairment. And it's not a surprise also to identify new biomarkers, molecular biomarkers or imaging biomarkers for diagnosis and monitoring of disease progression. So I took this example because there the representation of biotech companies and SMEs is quite remarkable. And indeed, within IMI, we hope, and this hopefully will be further improved in the years to come, to have a strong involvement of small and medium-sized enterprise. And as you can see, in this Pharmacog project, again on Alzheimer's disease, we have a number of these biotech companies. And for example, there are 2 companies which are companies which develop new tools for diagnostic purposes. For example, just simple blood tests, which might be one day or another used for the diagnosis and monitoring of these patients. So, and it's very, very interesting to already hear at the feedback that we can get from these SMEs, especially in this Pharmacog project. And they recognize that the IMI projects are indeed very important for establishing new networks, to provide access to large-scale studies, to ensure international visibility to sometimes small SMEs. Obviously, it offers them new opportunity to make deals with large companies and also to have access to private funds. Obviously, there are threats, again, related to IP and diffusion of sensitive information. Obviously, SMEs are concerned with administrative burden, and it's one of the important missions of our office is indeed to decrease as much as possible the administrative burden for the partners. So what's cooking at this time? We are now in the process of launching a second wave of projects which will deal on biomarkers in oncology, both molecular and imaging biomarkers, on new point-of-care testing methods for bacterial disease, new translational approach for rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory bowel disease, and very important, 3 projects on knowledge management, including one on electronic health records. There are other projects on electronic health record and for sharing of information in the pharmacological field. But there again, what is rather unique is to have this collaboration between several companies and academia. We receive a number of expressions of interest for each of these proposals, and again, we have a number of patients' organizations involved. So, after that, we will launch, probably at the end of the year, a call for a third wave of project with this type of priorities. And as you can see, safety will again be at the forefront of this call, as well as a project aiming at providing the public at large, the lay people, with a better understanding of, all these aspects of important aspects of drug development. And more information will be given about this in a few weeks. And especially during our next important event, which will be the annual IMI Stakeholders Forum, which will be held in Brussels on the 14th and the 15th of June. Obviously, you are all welcome. You can register to this website, and this will be an opportunity for you to get further information and also perhaps to provide your opinion or your feedback. Thank you very much for your attention.